So the subject for this video is going to be resting on a lot more speculation than usual, since it will involve piecing some seemingly unrelated things together. First, a bit of explanation for the Executors. The Executors are a mysterious and secretive group operating under the radar across Thetis. The extent and purpose of their operations are unknown, except that they operate a large spy network across the continent, and that they purport to serve powers across the sea. One of their members that appears in the Tevinter Night short story, The Dreadwolf Take You, is actually noted to smell of the sea. Hold on to that scrap of information, because I'm going to put a lot of probably disproportionate emphasis on it in a bit. In their brief war table encounter in Dragon Age Inquisition, the Executors present themselves as supportive of the Inquisition's goals, and in the aforementioned short story, Solus indicates he regards them as dangerous, and I think he's right. Now remember that bit about the smell of the sea? Well, that mutating pit of grey liquid in the Horror of Hormak is also said to smell of brine, that is to say, seawater. There is no obvious reason for this pool of liquid deep underground nowhere near the ocean to smell like seawater. These pools seem to be connected to Gillinane, the ancient elven goddess responsible for creating many monsters, which explains how the pools themselves seem to be capable of taking multiple creatures and combining them or mutating them grotesquely. Gillinane also has a connection to the sea, in that her greatest surviving creations were said to be great sea monsters. There's also a direct and dramatic reference to the sea. In concept art, we've been seeing this massive creature rising from the surf to fight what looks like the player party. I'm inclined to think this monster is one of Gillinane's, and it isn't the only sea monster we've seen. Furthermore, in the short story Ruins of Reality, we see a location with some tie to Gillinane has become magically active. But what does all this have to do with the Executors? Has Gillinane become free prematurely and started unleashing monsters on the world? That would fit what we know about her, but as far as we know, she should be trapped with the other Evanuris until the Veil is destroyed. Well, I believe the Executors are the ones responsible for all this. The biggest giveaway is perhaps the art for the short story I just mentioned, Ruins of Reality, where what is presumably the main character of that story, Strife, is shown wearing a cloak with the Executors symbol on it. That alone, I think, is a pretty clear sign that the Executors are going to be taking an active role in this story. I should also again mention the Tevinter Night story, The Dreadwolf Take You, where an Executor appears and is promptly killed by Solus before they can share any useful intelligence about him. I think there may be information there for us to seek out. All in all, from the smell of the sea to an agent in Gillinane's grove, we're given a lot of hints linking the Executors to this new onslaught of monsters rising in Thetis. If Solus regards them as a dangerous enemy, it stands to reason that this could be in response to his actions. Maybe these monsters are an effort to directly fight him or take advantage of his efforts. Maybe they want to free the Evanuris. Maybe they want to prevent the Evanuris from becoming free. Maybe they want something else altogether. The truth is that we don't really know what they want, except that it is not aligned with Solus's plans. We're left to ask, who are the powers across the sea that the Executors serve? It could be just as it sounds. The Executors serve a foreign power existing across the sea from Thetis. Of the civilizations we know exist outside of Thetis, which aren't many, the best candidate is probably Parladi, a near-mythical island nation existing to the north of Thetis, somewhere in the Boreal Ocean. They are said to have practices similar to Ravani seers, which they use to discourage unwanted visitors from their shores, and coastal fortresses that rival any in Thetis. They are said to be insular and reject contact with outsiders, but that doesn't mean they wouldn't act on foreign lands through the Executors. There's also the mysterious and possibly non-existent land of Amaranth, existing far across the Amaranthian Ocean. Amaranth is said to be a verdant, unspoiled land, but unverified stories of attempts to build colonies there describe disaster, entire settlements vanishing, and lone survivors driven mad. Perhaps some mysterious force in that land commands the Executors. But perhaps we should look to the Western Sea. It is said that a mysterious seafaring people called the Voshai traded with the Anderfell's port of Laish by the Volca Sea up until the Black Age, and only recently began to reappear, speaking of some catastrophe in their homeland. What's interesting about the Voshai is that all the captains of their ships appear to be dwarves, and elves are conspicuously absent from their crews. I bring this up because there are a few facts that seem to link the dwarves to Gillenane's strange grey pools. Namely, these pools are found underground, and we know one was found in the long-lost Great Tig of Hormak. More interestingly, we know from that short story that this pool was only one of 12. We also know that the ancient Dwarven Empire had 12 Great Tigs, one of which was Hormak. It follows that these pools may be hidden at each of the ancient Great Tigs. We know there is a connection between the ancient Dwarven Empire and the Evanuris, so maybe the Voshai were dwarves with some connection to Gillenane, that are now returning after millennia and acting through the Executors to prepare for their return. Maybe the powers across the sea aren't just across it, but below it. Maybe the reason the Executors smell of seawater is because their masters are the ancient sea monsters created by Gillenane. That would put a very different spin on some of the monsters we've been seeing, being masters rather than servants, and it would explain their knowledge of Gillenane's mysterious grey pools. There's also the possibility that the sea is more metaphorical. What if the sea, for example, is the Fade? That opens a few possibilities. For example, maybe the masters driving the Executors are the Evanuris themselves, looking to secure their freedom. I wouldn't really like that because I would rather the answer to every ancient mystery not be ancient elves did it. What if the masters of the Executors are something beyond the Fade though, something we've never encountered before? I want to draw attention to the monster Kekarax from the Tevinter Night short story Luck in the Gardens. It's a grotesque, intelligent, and magical creature unlike anything we've seen before. More importantly, Dorian speculates that this is a creature neither spirit nor demon from beyond the Veil. Perhaps such creatures, or some sort of related intelligent creatures from beyond the Veil, are masters of the Executors. The Executors and their masters are a bit of a black box, despite my speculation and tinfoil theory crafting here, but I'm convinced they'll be a big part of Dragon Age 4, probably tied to the monsters. Well, that's it for this topic. I'll be looking forward to learning more about the Executors to find out just what their deal is. See you next time. I hope you have a nice day.